Okay, well, good evening and welcome. Today we're going to be going through a pod seed done by Rich Bourque, who's a relatively new player to the Duckling Pond, but has been playing quite a bit and been getting some rapidly faster times. But he wanted me to take a quick look at his VOD to see, you know, I don't think he needs my help to break the 2 hour barrier, but what's the next step to break that 2 hour barrier, and then perhaps where can we go from there? Hey, Rich, how's it going? Maybe before we get started, is there anything in particular that you want me to touch on, or anything that you don't want me to touch on, where you're like, oh, I know I'm bad at this, so I don't need to rub it in. Okay. Yep. So yeah, if you're bad on menus, I can give you a couple tips and tricks too to try and speed up your menuing, because it's not just usually menuing problems are not menuing, like being able to press the buttons fast enough. Although some people are like that. It's usually decisions, but there's some heuristics that you can use to make faster decisions that will help your menuing speed up substantially. So maybe I'll give a few of those as we go. Um, but yeah, let's get started. So we're doing spring tournament pod flags. So the meta has been, you know, shaping out to be a little bit black belt tilted, although fighters can definitely do well if they get some good swords. The Temple of Fiends Revisited is a little bit tricky actually with 100% HP. You're not getting through for free, but definitely beatable. Oh, is it? Am I quiet? Um, testing, testing. Can you hear me better now? I can go a little louder still. Thanks, Ernest. Um, so yeah, Temple of Fiends Revisited definitely isn't free, but something that you're going to want to pay attention to. And then yeah, routing sea, sky are often where incentives are, but you don't necessarily want to go there because you have to open a lot of boxes. Versus, ice, decent number of boxes, marsh, decent number of boxes, but definitely can be faster than full clearing all of sea shrines. So with that in mind, let's get started. You said that you submitted it with the classes so we can see what the blurses are, which is awesome. So we can take a look. So 15 agility, not bad. Fighter armor is incredibly powerful in the thief. Fighter armor is one of the better blurses, not like compared to spellcasting. Plus katana, not bad at all. Need all the tips you can get before your match in 45 minutes. Well, I don't know how much I have to teach you, Cyranus, but I hope I hope your match goes well. Plus 20 vitality on the black mage, also quite good. Um, I was running black belt ranger, but I switched to fighter rainbow. I'm not opposed to changing them depending on the bonuses. Yeah, for sure. I think having a default with assuming there's no blurses or the blurses are all you know mages have plus strength. Um, I'm not opposed to that, but I don't think fighters are as outmatched as some people do, and for a newer player, I have no problem whatsoever with getting familiar with their fighter comp. In many ways, I feel like fighter comps teach the overall skill of Final Fantasy Randomizer even better than black belt comps do. Black belt comps teach how to get through difficult early games, and then a very specific skill set with black belts. But then they don't really teach as much about Temple of Fiends Revisited strategy, because the overwhelming strategy is going to be cast fast on your black belt and kill the thing before it kills you. Fighters have a little bit more nuance to them. Now, one thing I will note about the fighter rainbow comp, which I'm sure you're aware of, but is something to keep in mind, is just it doesn't do great for running. And that is a reason why I tend to prefer fighter red mage, black mage, for example. You can two man with the fighter and the red mage, and then the black mages can help you run through the early game, or you can just four man all the ways through, depending on how your magic is. So, um, yeah. But yeah, no real concern with this party. I think you can't go too wrong. And with that, we're going to start speeding things up here. We'll slow it down at times, we'll speed it up at times. But okay, so off we go. I like checking white magic first. Okay, so let's see. Invis is maybe worth picking up, but it's expensive. Harm 2 also could be worth picking up if there's no black magic. Okay, this is pretty good black magic. Now, another thing with running 3 mages, your money is going to be a little bit tight in the early game here. So obviously Ice 3 is the priority. Yep, that's all seems good. So in general, if you're trying to speed up a little bit, I would just avoid weapon shops entirely if you have magic. there's just not that much of a need for it, and you're going to be opening enough chests. Now, armor shops, on the other hand, that chain +4 is incredibly valuable, so picking that up early is good. So like my go-to, if I have a spell that can kill Garland, is going to be white magic, black magic, and then back to white magic if there's fade, if there's no fade or things like that, and then hit up the armor shop. I've also started delaying the item shop until after I go to kill Garland, just so I have a little bit more gold to pick up some pures, but that's pretty minuscule. So yeah, 1 second, let me just quickly check your time. So looks like you're right around, let's see. Okay, so a minute and, oh wait, you haven't saved yet. Okay, so a minute and 33 seconds. So my goal with checking the item shop is about 43 seconds out of Canaria, and then my goal without checking the item shop is in the 30 seconds. So just an idea about you're roughly 45 seconds behind at this point, just in terms of getting through Canaria. So just like, speeding up town shopping can make a big difference, and it's like incredible how much of a difference it can make in terms of just making those decisions and identifying spells. Now, I guess the question I do have for you is just like how much vanilla experience, how familiar you are with the spells and stuff. It looks like you're pretty familiar, so I wouldn't be too concerned about that. But, is it just a matter of deciding what spells to buy, or is it like a knowledge of the spells? That's kind of I guess, a question I have for you. Okay, yeah. So you're checking all the shops. One thing that I'm a big fan of, and I said this in a lot of my VOD reviews, but it's really about being deliberate. When you're going into a shop, you should have a goal of why you're going into that shop. In the early game, it's just find a sweeper, for example, right? But for white magic in the later game, maybe it's that you want life, or invis, or cure 4, or fade, and like you have a list of spells that you're looking to buy. For black magic, it's fast, temper, lock, sweeper, sweepers, warp, and then of course for white magic as well exit. So having an idea in mind before you go into the stores and why you're going in is really good, and that's one of the heuristics that will really speed up your decision making. Is like thinking like what spells do I care about? Okay, and not being familiar with too many of them. Yeah, so that's not a problem at all. I don't think the taking the time to take a look is that bad. It's more just getting used to making deliberate decisions on like why am I checking a weapon shop? Why am I checking a magic shop? And in the early game, maybe it's just, I want to check all through one through 4, right? But when you're in like Gaia, level 7 magic, and your mages need to be level 21 in order to cast anything, it's a much more, meaningful decision than like, do I care if I have one cast of this spell? Um, Once again, another thing that I've mentioned is just like, I don't think buying weapons is that important when you have something like Ice +3. But yeah, so if you're messing up blurses, that happens. But the truth of the matter is that Final Fantasy Randomizer is not a game about swinging swords until it's only about swinging swords, which is interesting. In the late game, in the Temple of Fiends Revisited, swinging swords is incredibly important. But in the early game with Magic, you don't usually need to swing a sword at all. You can just Ice 3 your way through everything. So while picking up weapons can be nice, usually you can pick up a decent enough sword just opening 3 boxes. Go with that, and then you'll switch that mid-game sword to a late-game sword when you pick up a Masa or a Vorpal or an Excal or something. So at this point, yeah, Adamant turn in here is totally reasonable. There's an argument to be made to go to Provoca first, but I have no problem at all going to the Adamant turn in. Nice use of the free steps on the water tile there. Like here, for example, on your Red Mage. The Red Mage is going to get you out of this fight faster by casting Ice 3 than it will by swinging its sword. Yeah, so Bert asking the valid question, which is what if Bicky gives you the TNT? But Bert, you always go clockwise. I often go counterclockwise. So, or sorry, you always go counterclockwise. I always go clockwise. So for me, checking the Adamant first is okay if I'm then going to go to Provoca and then go to Crescent Lake after. But if you're going to go Provoca and then go this way, it makes more sense. So I think it depends on where you want to go next. But this is very, very pod specific, and I wouldn't worry too much about it at like a high level. At the high level, you're turning in incentive items that are available to you, which is great. If you had no magic, I would go Provoca first for sure, but here you have some magic, you have Ice 3. That's totally fine to get you around the Inner Sea. So Provoca next, pretty easy play here. Hello, Bird Boss. Yeah, if Adamant gives you the Crystal, this would have been better. Exactly. I think Thunder almost always will do the Adamant turn in first, from what I've seen, so it seems to make sense. Yep, checking the chest is fine. Now, once again, why are you coming here to Matoya's? Now, it's not a wrong decision. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying, why are you coming to Matoya's? Is it to maybe get a weapon? Is it to get money? Etc., etc., right? The answer here is probably to get some cash, but you probably have enough cash already without this to buy spells and provoke, especially if you take a fight on the way. So gear, you don't really need gear. You have chain +4 on your fighter and your red mage. You have ice 3. That gets you all around the inner sea. Ice cave, a little scary. Marsh, a little scary. But you have great, honestly, pretty good gear already, and you're going to be forced to open some chests. So going up here just for gear, well, not wrong, isn't 100% necessary. And like a lot of getting faster in FFR is about like learning when you can push the limits and when you need to play safe. So just a quick note. Feel free anytime you're below level 6 to just ice 3 everything and anything. Um, just to get some levels in the early game. Like until you're level 6 with the experience scaling here, um, you can just take it. But all running here. Also, if you're going to do this split strategy, which I don't mind, you want to be casting Ice 3 with your red mage, and you want to be running with your black mage, because your black mage has higher luck. So will be better at running than your red mage. Okay, so of the spells here, Wall's the only one that really matters. Cure 2 is fine to pick up as well, especially with a white mage who doesn't do anything. I mean, what? Bert's in chat. Bert knows. Okay, so obviously fast is the priority here. Quad X also quite good, and you should be picking up lock as well. But, you know, if money's tight, you can leave it till later. But you really want one lock spell, especially at the lower levels. Once again, just no need. You're not going to find a better weapon in the store shops, really, than what you currently are swinging. So there's just no reason to buy weapons here. And mages don't need to equip swords unless it's a Masa on your white mage or red mage. You are never going to be you basically there's almost never a situation where swinging with your mage is the right call. They should probably either be waiting or casting a spell. So like trying to remove that will save you a lot of time. Also, based off like me seeing you checking status screens and things like that, it's very very much an excellent vanilla mindset, but not so good for the yeah, what Bert said. But like looking at the way you're playing already, I can kind of see that you probably have played vanilla a decent amount, which is why you're like trying to optimize your gear. But the difference between 0 armor and 20 armor is huge. The difference between 20 armor and 30 armor is almost not important whatsoever. Yes, it could make a difference once in a while, but the time loss you have of optimizing all that stuff is just not worth it whatsoever. You are mostly going to be running with everyone or blowing them up with a spell. That is Final Fantasy Randomizer in a nutshell for pods. So you don't need to be optimizing how strong your weapons are, how good your armor is, and all that stuff. Once again, generally speaking, I want to be aiming for a mid game anything, so like a silver bracelet or a copper bracelet +4 on my mages, and then like chain armor on my fighter and red mage. And then the other thing, then you want to be aiming maybe for one more set of equipment for endgame. So whenever you pick up a ribbon, anytime you pick up a pro ring, those things you can equip right away. But outside of that, just doesn't really matter. Um, yeah, so you're going to have actually, you know who's very very similar to you is Deadpulse. Deadpulse very very similar. He's done solo white mage runs, he's done all that stuff, and Deadpulse is an incredibly good player, but you have to break a lot of vanilla game habits in order to be fast at FFR. Now, if you want to play the way that you want to play, I have no problems, and please, like, I'm not saying there is a right way to play, but if you want to go faster, these are the things you have to start doing. And it really just is realize magic is broken. You're not supposed to have Ice 3 at level 1, and just abuse the crap out of it, and don't worry too much about armor and weapons and things like that. This seed brought to you by my Pu'er tea. It's quite good. Maybe I shouldn't be drinking such caffeinated tea at night, but oh well. My fellow tea granny Septimus isn't here yet, but we'll see if he shows up. Yeah, expensive houses kind of suck. So armor shops, really the things that you're worried about once you pick up the chain armor, just once again, some things to think about. The only things that matter in armor shops are chain armor early. Okay, you want to get faster? Okay, then listen to what I have to say for the most part. Only things that matter in armor shops. What you're looking for are 3 things. Chain armor, gold or silver bracelets If silver bracelets at their plus, gold bracelets, anything 0 and above is good, and pro rings. Those are the only 3 things you're looking for. So when you're scanning, ignore everything else. Yes, you can pick up a shield plus 4 or things like that, but once again, 8 absorb doesn't matter. Pick up chain armor in the early game, and then you want gold bracelets, silver bracelets, and pro rings. That's all you need to look at. So this is going to speed up your menuing, not by making you faster or think faster, but just by simplifying what your decision making is. Right now, you're considering all of it. Is any of this worth picking up? Versus there are pro rings here, there are gold bracelets here, and that binary decision is much faster than scanning. Is this an improvement? Is this not an improvement? Etc. Etc. Oh, Kitty did my cat pay a visit to the stream? My cat's name is Moriarty. She is quite an excellent cat. Um, Same thing here. Don't be afraid to just cast Ice 3 on those scorpions, but it's not a big deal. At this point, you have decent enough levels, and you can get some levels around Crescent Lake. So let me know if anything I'm saying doesn't make sense or if you have any questions. But so far, what I've seen is that you're spending too much time trying to optimize your gear, your swords. Anything that isn't Ice 3 at this point just doesn't matter. You've done a pretty good job, though, of picking up the right spells. I've liked your routing so far, so those are all really good things. Let us speed this up. Okay, nice use of encounter manipulation. I like it. So it looks like you got encounter manipulation down, which means you've been watching some VODs. And do you have it like internalized about how it works, or are you just using it kind of at a base level? Like based off how much you probably know the encounter table logic pretty well, considering you've run like solo runs. So I might not go into too much detail on that, but for now, if you're doing like base level encounter manipulation, you're in great shape. I think your time saves are going to be in other easier places first, or more low hanging, I guess is a better way of putting it. Okay, so once again, here, you're scanning. There's nothing that we care about. No pro rings, no gold bracelets, no silver, so we just leave. You're probably going to buy this copper plus 4, right? Okay, or the cap. But once again, the cap is like 4 absorb. We don't care. Yeah, you've already seen gold, chain, and pro rings at this point, so therefore you never need to check another armor shop, period. Thanks, Uranus. Someone's paying more attention than I am. See, that's a good thing you got your race today. I don't have another race till next Saturday. I'm going to be playing Monster Hunter Rise with my brother tonight. Okay, so here, 2 spells obviously we want to put in our back pocket, Nuke and Warp. But you're not going to be coming back for a while. Yeah, Monster Hunter Rise is real good. I've been playing since Try, but I really like Rise. I think it's better than World. I've been enjoying it quite a bit more. It just is kind of lacking the G rank content, but that's okay. Like I already got my like pretty decent sets other than the infinite charm grind. Okay, real quick Monster Hunter tangent, because I do want to focus on this. My main is I usually main hammer and bowgun. So light bowgun in this game. I played heavy bowgun in World and the hammer, so get stuns for my 4-man. Yeah. Okay, back to here. So please don't go to Ice Cave. That is my request right now. Don't go to Ice Cave. Where are we going? Okay. Generally speaking, okay, just a small note strategically. I really like getting a few levels around Crescent Lake before I go here. One, it gets you some more gold so that you can buy level 3 magic in Elfland. And two, um, being level 8 in Marsh is a big difference than being level 5. So I like to take any fight outside Crescent Lake. Now, do you know about the 4 encounter zones near Crescent Lake, Rich? Just turning on the kitchen lights. I do not. Okay. So let's quickly just touch on that because I think it is an important strategic consideration for pods. Oh, you're in level, that's level 3. Okay, perfect. So this is actually exactly, so can you see my mouse on the screen? Yes, you can. Okay, so there's one, basically the best way to remember the encounter zones here is this area right here is 1. Then you go down underneath the river. So if you go underneath this river, the second encounter zone is down here. The third encounter zone is to the right of the river over here. And then if you draw a line from that right one and the bottom one, Then the fourth encounter zone is in that kitty corner. So if you like think of a line here, then the other encounter zone is in that bottom right area. Now people will look for peds, but I've been finding that it just doesn't matter. If you're trying to get to level 8, taking anything pretty fast will get you to level 8 at the current EXP. So yes, peds are better if they roll low, but like most of the time I just like if I'm level 5, go out, kill any pack I see, then maybe I'll check the other one if that's not good. But don't being optimal is good, but sometimes like checking takes more time than just taking 2 fights, getting level 8 and moving on. I would also not do the river systems. The river systems are way more dangerous than just going south and then coming, past the floater dock. So some little things there. Did you go back? Okay, 1 second. My partner just needs to run past, so I need to turn off my camera for a second. Okay, go ahead. Oh. Okay, and we're back. So, yeah, continuing on to Elfland. So, at this point, my strategic idea here is I don't have enough money to buy level 4 spells, for sure. So I will just check level 3 for exit. Because we've already seen Nuke, we've already seen Warp. Fire 3 would be nice, so I would pick up Fire 3. Lightning 3 would be nice, so I would pick up Lightning 3. But really, the only thing that you want right now is like maybe Fade, maybe Exit. Those are the big things that we care about. You could sell the Heal Helm, that's a good point. And we're not that broke. Okay, so Fire 3 here, definitely worth picking up. Now, picking up on your red mage is a little dangerous in case Fade is in the white magic slot, but it is not. Okay, so pretty easy pickups of heal 3 on that white mage and life on both your red mage and... Oh, you're broke. Never mind. So this is something I don't like doing. You're going to be coming back here anyways, and whatever magic is back here doesn't really dictate your decisions, and you're probably going to want to buy something. So if I don't have money, I don't usually check level 4 magic. I come back after I've cleared Marsh. Okay, so there's Fade. That's important to know. And Cure 4 there, white mage only. Temper, nice to pick up as well. Good to check the shop item, but once again, I'm not saying you shouldn't check these. I'm just saying delay it until after you go to Marsh. And once again, no need to check the weapon shop because there's nothing we care about. Sweet cabin strats. I like Cyrenus' call here. In the early game, casting gear that you pick up is often worth selling just for some cash. Crown first is a good call. If this is the floater, you may never have to go to, then that means Marsh and Ice are 50-50 to have the canal. So doing this first makes sense. Quad X, good vanilla game knowledge. Very nice. Level 8, that's good. So here you can either go to Marsh, but I think I would turn the Urban first. Once again, just because if it's the floater, I don't want to do Marsh. So you're definitely relying too much on your red mage swinging. That's the correct play in vanilla, but in randomizer, just cast Ice 3. Okay, floater. So this is very specific to pods, but this does make it so that there's a 50% chance that the canal is in Marsh or Ice, right? So sorry, it's a 100% chance that the canal is in Marsh or Ice, which means we don't want to go there. We'd rather go anywhere else. So right now is not the right time. Wait, no, that was the floater. Oh, okay, yeah, we can't skip them entirely, Cyrenus, but we can skip them temporarily because it's more likely for there to be duds there. Also, the nastiest thing that can happen is when it's the key in those places, because the key can go into the... you need the key, but it can go into the canal. That's really nasty, but that's a pretty edge case. But the logic I was saying continues to apply. You don't really want to go to Marsh, and because Marsh now is 50% to contain the canal, so we don't want anything to do with that. So let's leave the inner sea and go somewhere else. Ordeals, I think, is probably the best play, but some options. Yeah, so taking fights on the way here, totally fine. Sometimes I find new players actually over-encounter manipulate around the inner sea. Oh yeah, Sarda. Sarda first. But taking some fights along the way, not a bad thing to get a few levels when you're below level like 10. Yeah, most players will go to Sarda immediately after getting the floater because otherwise you forget. And it just is a good free check. So Sarda first, a good call here. Hopefully everything I'm saying makes sense so far, and this is what you were looking for. But if it's not, let me know. Um, so far, yeah, I see a lot of like very similars when I did like Dead Pulse's VOD review. In which is that you have really good vanilla game knowledge, but your good vanilla habits are bad randomizer habits. But your game knowledge is going to make you an excellent player once you just focus on what matters. Okay, where are we going? Don't go to Ice Cave. No, you hate Ice Cave. You're never going there. Perfect. Don't go to Volcano. So Sarda is the play here for sure, but this is fine. Yeah. Picking up some. How dare you make Dead Pulse better? Everything is my fault. Dead Pulse didn't need much help to begin with, but I have given him a few tips and tricks. I think he's learned more though from me watching other players than from him, like his own VOD reviews. I basically told him not to pop grind, and that was basically it. Cool. Okay, yep, Sarda, the right play. Slab, okay, that's nice. This is one reason to do Sarda first, because then you can translate the slab on your first visit to Melman, but that's pretty minor. Once again, focusing on the bigger concepts is going to be better, more important to get your time down 15 minutes than it is going to be like some of these minor optimizations, although they're good to consider. Good, don't check any of those armor or weapon shops. Excellent. Now, where are we going? Slab turn-in is totally reasonable right now. I don't love this. So what's the idea behind going to... You did pick the biggest cardio, which is great, and you picked up a ribbon, which is even better. But what's the idea? Is it just gear? Or is it money? What are you looking for here? Gear? Okay. So here's the thing on gear. You're forced to open some boxes in this seed. So generally speaking, you want to open the boxes that you're forced to do first in dungeons that you think you can safely clear, and then go open optional boxes after, if that makes sense. Now, if you don't think you can safely clear any of those mandatory boxes, then you check for gear. But right now, Ordeals, I say, is pretty safe. Not 100% safe, but like most gear, other than the ribbon that you just got, isn't going to make a difference on your Ordeals dice, so you might as well do Ordeals first and open all those boxes, because if you find Masa ribbon in Ordeals, you don't need to open any more boxes. And also, once again, the difference in damage here doesn't matter because you're Ice 3ing, Fire 3ing everything anyways. So while you are optimizing, you're not optimizing for time, you're optimizing for safety, which just isn't that important. Oh, dead end. So I have checked Cardia a few times in my pods flags, but it's always after I finish clearing Ordeals, Waterfall, and usually Sea and Sky too. Um, it's when I'm like, I need a sword. Can I have a sword, please? And the game says no, so then I go to here. But the only other thing is if you really want some money to like buy the shop item, for example, you can also determine like check here. But generally speaking, the better way to get money is just to go kill some things. It's typically either I have tail or I have nothing. I don't want to dive sea. Yeah, exactly. Hey, Shumi Bobby, how's it going? Rich is going to be the next scary person, just like your frickin' hour 5 times, man. Spooking all the vets. Once again, taking these fights totally fine. Like, feel free to get some levels. And, like, in many ways, going to Ordeals is a great place to get levels with Fire 3 at level 3. So, yep, good running. You have good enemy identification, which is really nice. Hopefully you've recognized that, like, enemies that are scary in the vanilla game because they have skills and spells are EXP pinatas in the randomizer. So you actually want to prioritize killing them. But other than that, like, you seem to have a good grasp of, like, what enemies we want to kill and what enemies we don't. We're doing the things I did with the Duck Art Derby. Yeah, but as you crush more flag sets, you're going to find that your what's it called? The skills that can the transferable skills will continue to increase. Yeah, you're doing a lot right, and like for a newer player, you're looking really good. But I'm just trying to give you whatever I can. Yeah, one downside to Ordeals, of course, without Warp, it does kind of suck, but that's fine. Take this fight. You're still low level. Just Ice 3 this, Fire 3 this. They will die. This fight sucks. This Ordeal sucks. Heart 4, Fire 3. Cool. Oh, they have no HP, so keep that in mind if you find a zombie G-Chile. Yeah, Medusas, exactly. See, Medusas were scary in vanilla, but why were Medusas scary? Because they either have skills, spells, or touch attacks, and we don't care about any of that. Yeah, you'll be down to 130, no problem, and then it will get hard. Yeah, making decisions before they appear is the key thing. Being deliberate, and then the other thing I always talk about in every single one of these VOD reviews is having a plan for the end game. What does that plan look like? What's the goal? What are you trying to do? And just being deliberate in your decisions. So here, for example, your plan A is going to be going all in on the fighter. Um, yeah, killing off the red white mage isn't a bad idea here. It will get fade at level 4, which does make it relatively valuable, but this could easily come down to, a two-person. You could go to a two-person party with the fighter and the red mage here. Your levels are definitely high enough. That's a good. I like that play. So that's the type of menuing I don't mind doing. Moving the Thor hammer. That's the type of gear that matters. Ooh, this is nice. This thing has no HP. Yeah, ooh, it's a little scary. This is pod flags, but it is the vanilla trap tile. Okay, I think we leave now. I'd be a little spooked. Yeah, cool. So perfect Ordeals dive. You got the levels you wanted. That's exactly where you want to be, like, low to mid-teens coming out of Ordeals. You got a key item. All's looking good. So really nice. Ordeals was a little trolly, but so I was watching Edgeworth earlier today. I was calming his race, and he waited until he hit level 16 or sorry, they waited until they hit level 16 to go to Ordeals for Warp, but I think what you did is totally fine. Okay, so key removes the possibility of that trolley key. Pretty easy turn in. And with a fighter comp, you're not really looking for grinds. So, no need to check Northwest Castle locked, for example. Okay, cube. Oh, looks like you're using the auto tracker. I hope you like it. I'd be a little cautious spending money before you find the shop item, but this is okay. I like the general preparation here. Ooh, that's a few too many sauce, but that's okay. So the only concern here is just if you need to buy the shop item. Where are we going next? I think the on-rat continent is where you want to go next because of the shop item potential as well as waterfall. But there's an argument either way. Yeah, for sure, for sure. I honestly, I don't think the quote-unquote edge that the auto tracker gives is at all a problem for newer players. Like, just use it. Focus on gameplay first. So once again, this just does not matter. That matters. Equipping ribbon matters. Equipping armor doesn't matter at all. So there's a few items that I care about to equip basically right away if I'm in a dungeon. Those are basically pro rings and ribbons. Those are what I care about by far the most. If my fighter is like wearing no armor or my mages are wearing no armor, once again, I will go from really bad to or like 0 to something in dungeons. But for the most part, the things that you care about are ribbons and pro rings because those are going to prevent you from getting insta deathed, which is really important and can lose you a ton of time. So yeah. Now I like this idea of like I'm gonna go get all my spells stuff sorted out before I go, but the question is, could I have gone to the on-rat continent first? And the answer is probably yes, without doing all this. And then I could come back when I have enough money to buy everything out. So just something to consider. Now Marsh, once again, the downside here is that this is 50% chance to contain the canal, because the canal must be in the inner sea, even if you have the floater there. So this is not the odds-on play, but if you're trying to avoid going to Sea Shrine, I can see an argument to be made for this. That being said, like you have a shop item that you can get to for sure, so that's one free key item, and then you have Waterfall, which is a second. So those are two plays that I think give you the incentive items just a little bit earlier over going to Marsh. Okay, so you find the canal, womp womp. That does make ice a lot more important of a play, but I would not go until I had bought Warp on the Black Mage. See, the funny thing, you went and bought Nuke, but I actually consider Warp to be the far more important level 6 spell there. At level 6, the one cast of Nuke or two casts of Nuke that you're going to have just don't matter that much in the early game, but that, especially with Fade at level 4, but the Warp charge could be an incredibly high, big time save. So Warp is actually probably the more important level 6 magic, unless it was in a slot that you couldn't learn. This play, once again, just not something I would be doing because you're running a fighter comp. If you're checking all the grinds, opening all the, these types of boxes and things like that, the fighter comp has no real advantage over the black belt comp. It's just a worse black belt comp. So generally speaking, you want to be going to the incentive locations first to open boxes rather than going to other locations. I don't quite know what you're doing here. Okay, so you're taking a little mini grind on this red D, I guess. I don't know why we're not casting Ice 3. Is it okay? So we're gonna. I like the decision to kill the white mage off, although it does have fade and your black mage doesn't. I think your black mage is actually worse than your white mage in this seed, so I would probably kill the black mage instead. Oh, looks like I got my wish, regardless of whether that was your wish. Remember, the reason white mages are bad is they can't cast fast, they can't cast temper. Oops, they can't cast fast, they can't cast temper, and they don't have a sweeper. But if they have fade, that solves one of the key problems, especially while you're leveling. Also, you generally the enemies that you would encounter in Waterfall are actually going to be worth on average more EXP than this Red Dragon. So if you want levels, you're probably better off getting them walking grinding in Waterfall than you are in Northwest Castle, if that makes sense. Okay, the plan is to kill off both mages? Okay, sure. 2-man fighter red mage, I'm all for it. I just don't know why we're not casting Ice 3. I think it's the vanilla game thoughts of like, I want to swing my weapon real hard and fighters are broken in vanilla. Or black belts are also, but like here, Ice 3 all day. Just cast all those broken spells. They are your best friend. How high are we going? Yeah, vanilla habits die hard. Yeah, exactly. It took Dead Pulse a long time to break his vanilla habits, so good use of Cure 2 here. I don't know why we don't want to just cast Ice 3. Also, these are quad Xable, aren't they? Maybe not, but they are close to quad Xable, so quad X would probably be actually the fastest way to grind this. I don't mind a grind to like 20 here, but generally speaking, you don't want to be grinding too much with the fighter comps. So far, what I'm seeing, pretty classic for beginner player or duckling VOD reviews. Checking shops, just checking too many shops. Equipping armor and weapons that just don't matter because you have broken spells. Little bit of routing stuff, but I think for the most part your routing's been fairly solid. And then just like prioritizing incentive items or incentive locations that you can clear over checking for gear and other things because those incentive item or locations will have some chests that you have to check. So you might as well check those first and then only check chests afterwards if you're missing what you're looking for. Now I am curious what your current thoughts on your gear situation are. Like, how comfortable do you feel going into the Temple of Fiends Revisited with your current gear situation? And if you're not comfortable, what do you think you would be comfortable with? Like, what additional items would you be looking for in order to improve this? By the way, I really do love the 2-manning early. Like, this is a strategy that takes a long time for some runners to get a hand on. But like this 2-man strat is great, like way better than just 4-manning for these 100 to 150% bosses for the most part. Yeah, looking for a weapon. Okay, so outside, so you're looking for a weapon. Is there anything else that you feel like you need for the end game at this point? Or like, would you be comfortable going into the Temple of Fiends Revisited with like a level, a level 26 fighter and red mage with everything else the way it is? Sorry, if I look to the right, it's because chat's on my right monitor. Life 2? Um, I don't think Life 2 is strictly necessary here. So you have Life 1. Invis 2 could be nice, but I don't also think it's necessary. Like, in Life 2, I say is definitely not necessary. Invis 2 is a nice to have, but you have Invis 1 available. And you also have an incentive white shirt. So those could be alternatives without needing to necessarily like promote or find those spells. Also, if you find the defense sword, just you don't need anything. But yeah, that's fair. Some evasion is a good call, unless you find an excellent weapon, in which case you can try and speed and power your way through. Okay, so this grind I feel is it's not bad, but it's very bad for a fighter comp, especially like a two-person like this, because it's just taking a lot of time and you're losing all advantages of what your fighter is doing. Like I love taking a tile to get my fighters, my comp to like where I'm comfortable clearing dungeons, but that's like late teens, maybe 20. That's it. And then you just go. And then get the levels on the way. Because I think a theme here is that there's some stuff that you have to do no matter what. And then there's other stuff that you can choose to do. Like if you view the game as optional and mandatory content, right? If you choose to do the optional content before you do the mandatory content, you have to do the mandatory content anyways. And then you're going to spend a bunch of time doing that. So there's a fixed amount of time, plus or minus a few chests, in the mandatory content. The optional content could be anywhere from 0 to all of it, and you have complete choice. So by grinding on a tile, that is optional content, versus by clearing dungeons, that is mandatory content. So doing the mandatory content first, and then see if you feel safe doing it. That's the big if. But if you feel safe doing it, doing the mandatory content first, and then doing the optional content later, if you need it, will allow you to optimize a lot better. Versus the other way around, there's no optimization possible. You did all the optional content, now you have to do all the mandatory content anyways, and you save little to no time. Okay, also that is really unfortunate. The other problem with doing a grind early, of course, you're a vanilla player. The tail, you obviously wanted to promote on that night prior to doing the grind, so you maximize the spell charges. At this point, you are so high level on that night that it's going to be really challenging for you to get up to the number of spell charges that you care about. So just another sequencing error. Once again, doing the incentive locations first would solve that issue. And with the floater, you are guaranteed to find the shop item, right, in Onrak, Caravan, or Gaia. Now, the nice thing about doing the grind, which I do like, is that you have the Oxyale, and the places you want to go next are probably Waterfall and Sea Shrine anyways, maybe Ice Cave first. So, that is good, because now you can kill Kraken. And buying Invis also good. Okay, so Bert's saying I early grind the fighter because I'm not lucky enough to get the good spells. Right, but if you have good spells, then you don't necessarily need the fighter quite so high. But any grind to below level 20, I'm like usually totally okay with. But it's once it goes above 20 that I start to be a little bit more against it. Once again, I'm the person who's like, get level 9 outside Crescent Lake. So don't get me wrong, I'm not against grinds for safety because a wipe can cost way more time than the grind. But you just got to be the right balance. Now this I do like, but note, see, this is something I do want to call attention to, is that this is the right time to go and rebuy all your spells because you just promoted and you have the money to do so. But you came here before to pick up a nuke that you never cast, and now you're coming back here again to pick up other stuff. So that is just non-deliberate or non-strategically planned out seed where what you're saying, what you should be saying is, I want to go to Crescent Lake one more time. When is the best time for me to do that? And it's either going to be when I promote and have money, pardon me, or it's going to be when I don't promote and I'm about to go into Topher because I want, or it's when I want Warp to go into Ice Cave. Those are like, there's different triggers, but you should plan for exactly one more trip to Crescent Lake, and you should plan for exactly one more trip to Elfland. And doing that will save a ton of time. And this just once again has a long-term view of the seed. Like, what's my goal for me at the end? What's my goal before each dungeon? And how do I fit these pieces together? And that's a skill that takes a lot of practice. But just try and think about, how do I go to each town the minimum number of times? And for Crescent Lake, that's usually twice. For Elfland, that's usually twice. For Provoke and Canary, it's usually once, etc., etc. Where are we going? Yeah, you've already been to Elfland 3 or 4 times, and I know I stopped there one more time. So Elfland, if I go there more than 3 times, I am so mad. If I go there more than twice, I'm super mad, actually. I try and go there exactly twice. Once before I do everything just to check level 3 magic, which takes 20 seconds, and then one more time to just full clear the whole shop. The only time I'll come there 3 times is if there's level 3, like, night learnable magic, for example, and maybe I'll come back just for one spell. But, that's definitely an area. I think your towns in general are an area that you have a lot of time save that could be made. What are we manipulating? Okay, once again, it just doesn't matter. It's fine. So I know I'm beating a dead horse at this point. You can probably guess what I'm going to say, but I don't like going to Volcano here because clearing chests in Volcano is optional content. And I want to do my mandatory content first. Yes, I know you need a sword. Don't get me wrong. But you don't need a sword to kill Kraken. You don't need a sword to clear Waterfall. You don't need a sword to clear Sky. You can do all that with basically what you have. Like Fades and Nuke will kill Kraken. And never mind your fighters, like probably strong enough to do a little bit of chip damage along the way. Fades and Nukes will kill Tia. So you want to go do those dungeons first because you need to go there, rather than go clear Volcano. Yeah, so what Shumbobby is saying is 100% correct. This never happens in vanilla, but Bane Brack with Invis, with Evasion, will kill Kraken and Tia. Nuke Fade kills all your fiends. 3 times Nuke Fade kills all your fiends. So as soon as you have that, you should do the incentive items first. And if there's something that I can like instill in you on this, that's another one of the big learning points here to speed up. Nice heal 3 usage, I really like it. So if you're going to full clear this volcano, this, once again, all optional content. So you could, no. So you could proximity route this first, but if you do so, maybe just clear the armory and the free chests, or like the really, really quick chests, which is mostly what you're doing, and then just go kill carry. But I understand you're in this area, but like the Onrak continent has just been like crying for your attention. So much more than this area in general, if that makes sense, because you have the tools to do it. Yeah. Sorry, there's not the big issue with doing Volcano here, and he is also mostly just clearing the key chests, like the quick chests. So I'm not that against it. It's more the general thought process that I'm trying to instill. So we already talked about this. Your red mage might as well not be able to equip swords until Topher, just as a heads up, unless you have no magic. Right, because Ice 3, on average, is going to be doing, okay, not to undead enemies, but Ice 3 to most enemies is going to be doing about 200 damage. Your red mage is not going to swing for 200 damage that often. Pour all weapons. Nothing matters but the masa. Fight me. No, it's not entirely true, but yeah, it just doesn't matter. So hopefully you don't sit here too long. I would take this fight once. I guess to reinforce the point, Shumbobby, you probably should be clearing Ice Cave while you're here rather than clearing the proximity volcano, or you should be clearing Ice Cave first, because that is the incentive location here, right? And we're looking for the chime. This chest, why are we checking this? Yeah, yeah. Well, so there was the early floater in the inner sea, so Canal was in either marsh or ice, so it made sense to skip it. But then he checked marsh already. Well, okay, so you're looking for a weapon. That makes sense. But just think about all the chests you still have to clear first. This chest takes so long, and all chests have an equal chance of containing a weapon, right? You're on the right track that I'm looking for a weapon, but I guess the issue here is more that you're in Volcano. Um, there's essentially two really good endgame weapons and a couple passable ones, especially with the fact that you have temper and fast um, that you could get through with. But unless the Masa is like exclusively in that chest, I don't think I've checked that chest in the entire spring tournament, and I don't think I will. Uh, oh, you're out of fade charges. Okay, fair enough. Okay, going all in on the fighter here, not a bad call. You're just a little bit short on fades and stuff, so this is fine. Keep in mind the reason you're short on fades is because you cleared a lot of it, but the proximity route for Volcano isn't that bad. I guess I'm more just concerned that there's like Waterfall and Sea Shrine and Ice Cave all available. Okay, Ice Cave next makes sense. Hopefully your Black Mage is level 16, so you have Warp. That would be like my trigger to go to Ice Cave is to have level 16 on my Black Mage, which is where you get level 6 magic. See, that's the type of knowledge that I know players like you have, um, which a player like me never had, because I had very little vanilla game knowledge. Like I had to look up a tutorial of like the vanilla fetch quest sequence when I first started playing. When they turned on vanilla fetches, I was like, what does these items give me again? So I guess I had to give you credit because looking for a weapon is the right plan. I guess the execution of looking for a weapon is just the problem. Okay, that was just a button misclick, I think. Okay, continue. So this is where you go like run fire 3 with your red mage, for example, or harm 4 with your white mage, but run, 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 run is fine. Keep in mind that your running chances increase as you get levels, so yeah. I am so used to skipping certain things too. Like what do you mean by that? Oh, I see, I see. Yeah, you vanilla habits die hard. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, the spike's there. Not that important, but a good point. Okay, gold bracelet. Nice pickup. No, no, no. Run from wizards. These are terrible EXP for the point of the game you're at right now. So like there, that's not a good decision. You took the wizards and then ran from the ice dragons. The decision making probably should be reversed, but those are minor. All the other runs have been fine though. In general, your fight selection is pretty good. Okay, Chime, a super good pickup here. Now, I'm not sure if you're aware, but you can get a few more free steps in between, in front of and behind doors, in on the bottom of rooms. Just a note, but I don't think it's that important. Yeah, okay, what I just said. I just don't think it's the most important thing for you to focus on at the moment, but it can uh, save some time. So please never check this weapon shop ever again. Also, what I guess level 8 magic you're looking for life 2, but I just don't think it's that important. Also, you're just going to have zero casts of it anyways, right? Your white mage, in order to cast level 8 magic, needs to be like level 25 or something ridiculous like that, which is just never going to get to. Also, there's no black magic left that you care about. You already have nuke, fast temper nuke lock. Right, but Okay, looking for Invis 2 or Life 2 is fair, but is your white mage going to be level have casts of it even? My white mage would never have casts of it. Because my white mage isn't getting high enough level. And that just comes down to, I guess, having a plan for what the end of the seed looks like. Oh, wow, you haven't turned in the slab yet? So Shimbabi means that like the white shirt is incentivized. So while you don't have the white shirt, yeah, exactly. You don't have the white shirt yet, but you could get it if you really wanted it. Um, and you're gonna want way more casts of Invis 2 than just one, right? Because like one cast of Invis 2 just isn't good really. One cast of Life 2 if you had no life magic would of course be good, but one cast of Invis 2 just doesn't really do all that much. You have level 1 Invis at least. That does help. Excuse me. So I would have turned in this lab way, way, way earlier, but of course it turns into nothing, so it doesn't really matter. Okay. Regular Invis just gives one stack, but it's something. I don't know if you're aware of this, but to speed, once again, another like general heuristic is put your casting items in the top left slot, just to speed up menuing. Although I also know some runners who like it in the bottom right. So if you're putting it there on purpose, that's fine. But just putting it somewhere where it's fast to cast, especially for something like the Power Gauntlet, which you're going to use 10 times in the Temple of Fiends Revisited sometimes, will speed things up. Just while you're menuing. Yeah, top left and bottom right. Okay, so as long as you're doing it on purpose, that's fine by me. I always like the top left spot, but that's just because that's where my muscle memory goes. Once again, deliberate decision making, and I'm fine. So this is where I question your grind to 26. Because if you're going to take these fights, then you don't want to grind to 26. If you're not going to grind to 26, then you can take these walk and grind fights. So you kind of got to choose one or the other. But not the worst. I don't love Sky over Waterfall. Okay, that Ruby's completely dud. But it's reasonable. This is just a proximity check, fair enough. If you're hoping to skip Waterfall, also fair enough. But I was talking to Cheeseinator about this earlier, and he said, A, the average time to incentive in Sea Shrine is going to be shorter than the average time to incentive in Sky, and B, the time to incentive in Waterfall is going to be even faster, and you're just looking for the loot at this point. And the loot is in one of those 3 locations. A little curious that you're... So, the fact that you went to Volcano and then aren't opening chests in Sky is a little bit interesting. I don't know what your thought process is there. It's not a bad play. It's just a little bit curious. Yeah. So Shimbabi, I agree. That's the same reason I like Sky more, is because taking walking grinds here is better. I think with Waterfall though, you like have to go ski first. Um, Also here, I'm not sure if you're aware, but you can use warp, right, to go back from here back to the middle. If you were using this floor as an opportunity to go, like, take some fights, okay, you're just saving your warp charges, fair. But if you're using this floor to take some fights, you can walk around. But if you don't want to, yeah, yeah, you had 2, but fair enough. You used it in the right spot, so I have no problems. Who was I talking to? I think it was Crabcakes, where we were mentioning that actually checking Sky 1 is actually just as good for chests as checking Sky 3. So checking Sky 1 for chests is pretty good. Now Sky 3 has better fights, so that's why Sky 3 is nice, but you know, Sky 1 another place that you can open some greed boxes. So these are some really good EXP fights that you're running from, which I don't have a problem with because you've done the grind. It's just like your choice of fights is a little bit all over the place in that like you took like a single Tyro who's worth like some EXP but took a lot of time to kill, and then you're like skipping fights in here. Maybe it's for resource management, which is fair. But you had a lot of resources. Like you have like 6 casts of Fade on that mage, and you're skipping them. So I think that's just having a little bit more of a holistic view of like what you're going to be doing and where you want to get EXP. Because like when you can go to Sky, you're going to get EXP in Sky. So therefore you can skip fights outside of Sky because the plan is to get the EXP in Sky. And that's just like having that longer thought process of like the overall goal of the seed rather than just like the individual decision making. Could go with Brack strats here, but I think swinging is totally fine. Okay, and we got 2 orbs lit. You know, honestly, Rich, you're playing quite well. I see a lot of potential. Just a couple things I think that you need to clean up here. So I would check waterfall first, and the reason is that if it's the loot, you don't necessarily need to full clear C. But there's an argument to be made for clearing C shrine first because then you can skip waterfall. Ooh, life 2 in the Hail Mary slot, as I like to call it, in on rack. That is a nice pickup. And you're going to have cast of it. Okay, so it looks like we are going waterfall first. So at this point, this is when I would really start aggressively encounter manipulating because you don't want to take any overworld fights at all. None of them give you any XP that you care about. So just a side thought. Good decision to burn it there. I'd say your step routing in general is about 80% accurate, 70 to 80% accurate. So definitely some work to be done there, but I don't think it's what's costing you 30 minutes. If you were at 90 minutes, I would probably start focusing on it more. But for now, I think those other higher level concepts are what are costing you the most time. But you're averaging somewhere like 10 to 20 extra steps a dungeon, so that does add up. Can I have sword bleed, please? Ooh, that's gross. I'd probably clear Sea Shrine here, but it sucks. The fact that you need a sword makes clearing Sea Shrine more appealing. Yeah, Bert, oof, that is the worst outcome. Yeah, TNT sucks. It's not what you want to see here because you just don't know if you need to full clear C now. Boo. So like once again, this fight, your fight selection just is not. I don't want to use the word illogical because it's not like you're not thinking with logic. It's just like in the entire scope of it, what you skipped in Sky doesn't make sense to what you skipped in the overworld. Yeah, turn in the TNT is a totally fair play here, which it works out, which is great. It's just yeah, that's a tough decision. I think I would clear C, but there's an argument to be made either way. This is a good play. I like the proximity route to Earth here. How many chests are you going to open? Are you still looking for a sword, or are you just done with it? Are you just saying axe it is, and I'm going to go fast and... Okay. If you're going to open 0, you want to go the left route there, but that's pretty minor. In new player duck pond or initial setup, there's some step charts that I would suggest that you take a look at. But once again, I don't think that is the thing that is losing you the most time. Actually, what Bert is saying is a really good call. Doing the top of Sea Shrine, killing Kraken while you're there, might actually have been the optimal play. Because yeah, it takes some time to clear those chests, but whatever. And you get Kraken out of the way, and you might find the key item. So I like Bert's play. That's a good call. I do like the fact that you're thinking like I don't want to full clear Sea Shrine, so therefore I'm going to turn in the TNT. Like that's a good decision. Or good decision, bad decision, I don't know, but it's a thought. It's a decision with thought, which I think is really important. Yeah, BioBreak. And once again, feel free to pause when you're doing that. So realistically, minus BioBreaks, you may actually be sub sub 120. Interesting decision to open this box. That's like one of it is somewhat free, but the fight doesn't make it free. With better trap treasures on, that's a good box to open though. That one's reasonable. Yeah, it would have been sub 2 without the BioBreak. Oh, no, so close, so close to the optimal Earth route. You got to go down there instead of up in the middle. I was waiting for Earth 4. He doesn't take the Sir Lancelot route. I don't know what route that is. So I'd actually say your party levels are pretty good. They might be like a touch high, but considering you're going in with no sword, I'm pretty happy with where you ended up. Um, I think just how you got there is a little bit questionable. Like in terms of like what fights you decide to take and the static grind versus running from a bunch in Sky. Like that's, I think just it wasn't as optimal to get those levels, but the levels themselves are okay. Also, don't be too afraid to just go with a two-man into dungeons. Maybe not like Sea and Sky, but other dungeons, for example, like Waterfall. Just like you can just go there with the two-man once you dan off your mages to get a few extra levels. Oh, you know how much longer it is, but you still choose to take the longer route? That's interesting. So just so you know, the heuristic on this floor is to turn left immediately. Oh, okay, old habit. Ooh, that's bad. So that means that these are nuke on site now, or fade on site, rather than like trying to conserve resources, because that's awful. Yeah, so the heuristic here is to turn right away, so that way you hit the free step near the door. Right here. That's a free step. So I would probably be opening the sea hallway chests and the Sharknado ones. Yep, yep, yep. Interesting. I would have skipped this one, but that's fair. Okay, we are the Swordless Wonder. So I know that you didn't get lucky because you didn't find a sword, but just your internal dialogue didn't quite make sense to me unless your thought process was that I grinded, so therefore I don't need levels, and therefore that's why I'm going to stop opening boxes for sword, in which case that makes sense. It's like if your idea was that I want a sword, so I'm going to open boxes, then when I didn't get a sword, I'm going to take levels, that's very reasonable. It's just a little unfortunate that like you cleared like a lot of chests in optional locations for nothing, and then you didn't clear chests where for example, mermaids is pretty fast and with no encounters and will get you a white shirt. You have two ribbons, right? So your ribbon should probably be on your white or red mage and your fighter, but it looks like it's on both your life casters. So the reason I would put one on your fighter is because your fighter's your melee damage dealer, and if he dies, it's pretty bad, and you only need one life caster. So that would be my preference, but also, was Life Knight learnable? Because if it was, you almost certainly wanted to pick that up. You wall him up in Topher? Yeah, that's fair. I think the thing is though, like wall can still get turn ordered, and if I get turn ordered, what would I prefer to? Who would I prefer to die? Okay, so yeah, you do pick up life. Really nice. Good stuff. Nice. To Topher, I will go. You want to check less greater than less than guaranteed sun +5. Cool. I like this Topher prep. I think it's a reasonable amount of Topher prep. Ooh, this is an incredibly slow Topher. 146. Unless, oh, maybe you wipe. But like if this Topher took you 10 minutes or 20 minutes, that's super slow. Or wait, was this like your 201 or something? But still, like 15-minute Topher is pretty slow. It might just be decision making though. You might just be being careful. Just over 2, okay. So with a fighter comp, you're generally aiming for about an 8 to 10 minute Topher, but closer to 8. With a black belt comp, you're hoping for like a 6. With no run, with all unrunnable. Just once again, trying to give you some benchmarks so you can aim for. Okay, that long run means I think you're going to get a nasty encounter table on the sea floor. Yeah, no, that's reasonable. I don't mind checking the validation chest there. Okay, so let's talk Topher strategy here. With your current setup, you have limited nuke charges. 6-minute Topher for a fighter comp with a swinging a axe, a little questionable. But yeah, okay, sure. I'd say 8 minutes with no unrunnables with this fighter, which actually has the temper and stuff, and maybe goes a little bit defensive. But anyways, yeah, but not with an axe. Yeah, for sure. So you don't have enough nukes, but I think you want to be nuking Carry and Kraken. You want to be fading Lich, Carry, and Kraken. And then I think you want to be buffing your Knight on Tia and Chaos is the rough idea that I would be going for in this Temple of Fiends Revisiting. And having that thought process in mind, maybe you don't have to have it way before, but like for me, I'd be having it even before I enter the Temple of Fiends Revisited. But for you, maybe when you're on the floor, just start thinking like, what's my strategy for the Fiend? It's going to hugely increase your menuing speed on the Fiend itself if you have a plan of how you want to get it dead. Remember, Lich here has 500 to 750 HP. Swing's going to do, well, mediocre damage, but like 200 damage, 150 damage. Fade should do 400, 500, and then maybe a Fire 3 will finish Lich off, right? Carry, 700 to 1050 HP. I think you'll probably know the HP totals because you have vanilla knowledge. But once again, that's where you want to go like nuke, fade. That's good for probably 600 to 800 damage. 800 is too high. 600 damage, and then a swing, and then should die turn 2. Kraken, nuke, fade. Hopefully your mages stay alive, and then fade, nuke will take it out. Tia, though, you're running out of nukes. Fades are going to be too slow. I think you want to go more all in on the fighter there. So that would be my plan, and that's the type of discussion I'm having in my head before I get into the Temple of Fiends Revisit, especially with like an axe comp here. On Chaos, you're going to have to go for invis strats on your Knight and power bonk the Knight to death and a few locks. So just to know. Also, I noticed that you didn't pick up lock, which is a super common vanilla player thing. But lock is really good in this game against high evasion fiends, which are specifically Chaos and Tia. So picking up lock to lower their evasion, which actually works. Remember, lock is fixed and has 100% hit rate. Really important, especially with a garbage weapon like a sun sword or an axe. Swing. Okay. Oh, harm four is totally fine here to save the fade charges. Wow, that does nothing. Wow. Ooh, oh, I don't know if I love using the fighter's harm for there. Once again, you just keep in mind how much, yeah, just keep in mind how much HP Lich has there and what the risk is. I would probably have just swung because you only have 2 life casts, and that once again comes all the ways back to when you promoted. But if he has 4, sure, harm 4 is fine. Let's see what your plan is against Carry. Once again, the knowledge that you can fade fiends is probably really valuable to you, but just a note. Well, you think you only need 1 life cast, but I really like to have 2 because 1 for Kraken and 1 for Tia, just in case. Well, no, you only need 1 on your fighter because then you can life another mage with life. But sometimes your mages might get wiped out twice. It's unlikely, but compared to the harm 4 versus the the swing wasn't that much of a difference considering Lich only had a couple hundred HP left. I would definitely be going with fades here, but I understand wanting to save the cure 4s. Carry's kind of scary, so yeah, Ice 3 on the Black Mage. Also, Quad X would have been a very good play here as well. I don't mind buffing up the fighter there, but I think fades are just going to be safer and faster, and you have enough casts of them. I would rather be saving my buffing magic for Tia and Chaos, and then going after fades on Carry Kraken instead. Yeah, that's fair. The Great Axe is pretty terrible, so it does make checking weapon shops in the end game actually more viable, but that's pretty awful. I have a general rule, which is don't kill things. Okay, so this floor is one you really are going to want to look at the free steps because water floor is terrifying, so I would definitely learn that. This would be one of my top priorities to like fix my step routing on, but just a small note. But yeah, Great X is pretty terrible, so I guess shop items do actually matter, but whew. Run, 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 run. You really want to be careful with your resources here. But fair enough. Petition Tetron to rename it the Good Axe, not the Great Axe. How about the Mediocre Axe? Okay, what's your plan on Kraken? Yep. So I did just want to point out the reason that, this kind of goes to show why ribbon on your fighter makes more sense, right? Because who are you prioritizing here? Your fighter and your white mage. Therefore, your fighters should be the person with the ribbon. I know you're casting wall, but you can still get turn ordered. You can always cast wall on the red mage instead. But if you're going to get turn ordered, who would you rather die? And the answer is the red mage over your fighter. Um, so yeah, we could go fast strats here and try and buff up that sword, that axe, or you could just go nuke fade fade, nuke fade fade, and that would kill Kraken as well. Of course, if things go wrong, nuke fade fade could turn out poorly. So you may be going fast, fade fade, power bonk, and then nuke fade fade or something. Also viable here. Let's see what you do. Fast, temper, invis, power bonk. Okay, all in on your fighter. I don't hate. It's a strategy. Like you're committing to it. What I'd be scared of is that your fighter could have just got one punch there and then you'd be dead, but ooh. So we're hitting turn 3, and with the turn order you got with nuke fade fade, you would have killed Kraken. Just a note. Also, your fighter wasn't walled there, so he could have died unless you walled on turn 2. Uh, and this is why I think having multiple charges of life, like 2 charges, is really good because now if you died on Tia with just a fighter left, you'd be toast. Of course, you didn't use the harm 4, but just why I would prioritize not using that. Good. So just note, your menuing looks about as fast as an average vet's, but at 2 times speed. So menuing is a major time loss for you, but you're kind of aware of that, and it's mostly decision making. But just a note if you really do want to like go fast and compete in the next tournament. Okay, wall does come off, but note your fighter already took a bunch of damage, but that's fine. All in on the fighter here makes a lot of sense, but fade fade is good. Yep. Honestly, pretty good Topher strategy so far. I think I would have preferred the like nuke fade fade strat on Kraken, but otherwise looking okay. And I like you are considering resource management, which I think is a big new player trap, so I do like that a lot. I would definitely have moved the fighter up there, but that's fine. Unless you knew the encounter table, in which case you're better than I am. Ooh, I would have saved one more of those Cure 4 charges, but that's fine. So here, yeah, I think you go all in on the fighter. Once again, ribbon on the fighter here for sure, but that's okay. Now, I don't know for sure, but it's likely that a lock is going to be more important here than a temper. I know you don't have lock, but just a note for your mental process. Like, most of the time in this type of mage setup, I'd be going, well, ribbon on the fighter first, but I'd be going, like, fast, lock, um, invis, power bonk, or something like that. Because the reason is, power bonk can give you additional saber casts, but there's nothing that can give you a lock cast if both of your red mage and black mage go down turn 1. So prioritizing the thing that you can't cast is more important. So that's why I would go with locks. Yeah, that's fair. Okay, as long as you know what's important and not broken, that's That's good enough. Yeah, like you can see here, that's a fasted axe and it's hitting 3 times. So lock would be like way more important than tempers. Ooh, nice nuke roll. So all out of tempers. Power bonk, yep. Nice, GG's. Shumbobby. Yeah, I agree. So Shumbobby's comment is very much similar to like what my wrap up would be. No overwhelmingly bad decisions. Decided a little bit late, but um, you're looking really solid. Do you want to join me in voice chat on the Discord, and we can have a quick chat? I'll just go hang out in general and turn my desktop audio on. Yep, have a plan. I think the entire previous Duck Derby class who I interacted with, if they took one thing away from what I had to say, it's have a plan. Always have a plan. Have a plan from the beginning, have a plan from the mid game, have a plan at the end game. Um, hey, Rich, how's it going? Oh yeah, turn it off on the stream or else you're gonna suffer. um, yeah. So what is there anything that you kind of want to discuss at the end of it? I have a couple points that I can kind of summarize, but yeah, is there anything you wanted to bring up or discuss? Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
late encounters that I shouldn't be. So that's definitely something I need to work on. Yeah. Basically, not going into shops is going to save me a lot of time, and
Mm-hmm.
like you said, planning ahead, so that I don't have to spend all that time in the menus.
Yep. I think those are perfect takeaways. Those are really what I had to say.
Mm-hmm.
Just having a plan for your magic, having a plan for your weapons and armor shop, and then having a plan for your Temple of Fiends Revisited. I was super impressed that you got through with that Great Axe. I thought you had some really nice Topher strategies. I was giving like
I
alternatives,
didn't have a
perhaps.
choice.
Yeah.
it was it was either well, go back to Sky and keep on looking, or go into
Mm-hmm.
Sea Shrine and keep looking,
Mm-hmm.
or just go for it. And I figured, well, every weapon that I'm finding has a malice to it.
Yep.
So like, um, and yeah, so I did end up going back. I don't recall what it is. I didn't write it down, but there was something in the greater than less than room
Mm.
that had I gone to the in there, I would have found a different weapon. But I mean, I played several seeds since then, so I don't recall what it was. But,
Yeah. I mean, I would generally try and avoid like looking back like that because
mm-hmm.
whether there's a weapon there or not, I think you have to like own your decisions at the time, and whether or not there's a weapon shouldn't really be your deciding factor. It should be more like, am I comfortable beating the Temple of Fiends Revisited with what I currently have, right? And the fact that
Right.
your knight had life, your knight had the power gauntlet, and you had easily accessible fast, temper, and lock, those all make it so that
Mm-hmm.
the weapon of choice was good. I think going slightly more nuke fade heavy would have made your run just a little bit safer, perhaps.
Yeah.
But all in all, like what I was saying more is this: I was impressed that you could get through with that because it means you have a good understanding of like fast temper.
I think one thing that I could have done in that run too, was that I could have um, not grind for as long,
Mm-hmm.
but also revive the black mage so that I can get some additional spell charges while I'm fighting,
Mm-hmm.
by leveling up that black mage, because that did end up hurting later on in the run.
Yeah.
But that's situational.
Mhm.
Sometimes the magic falls your ways, and other times it doesn't. So.
Keeping the level of the black magic and the spells that you care about in mind really dictates your black mage level. More so
Hmm.
even than like HP. For the life casters, HP matters quite a bit, but for the black mage, it's really like, do I have enough casts of the spells that I care about, right? And
Yeah.
I think your black mage ended up at an overall okay level. I think you could have
Hmm.
distributed levels a little bit differently, but for the most part, I was actually pretty happy with your kind of end game level setup and all that stuff. I think it was really good. I just would have gotten the experience a slightly different way than you did.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I said I've had two additional runs, three additional runs since then. One I had to quit like half an hour in because of personal things, or whatever,
Mhm.
and then so I did two other runs. One was 209, and then the one this morning was like 202.
Mhm.
So I mean, I'm fairly consistent on my times.
Mhm.
So obviously, that to me that means that I'm doing the same things over and over again.
You're making
So
the same mistakes
um,
consistently. Yes.
right, and that's why like I didn't want to play like five different times between the time that I talked to you about this run and tonight because um, you know I don't want to get into the habit of continually making the same mistakes. So if I would have run, five additional times or something like that, making the same mistakes, then that's going to just ingrain those mistakes into me more and more. It's like I put in the note for this video. I have a total of under 10 runs on randomizer now.
Mhm.
So I think with the one that I just did today, that makes 10 total
Mhm.
runs on randomizer. So I think I'm making decent progress for the number of runs that I have total under my belt.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Um, and I said I don't want to go back to those vanilla duckling runs or whatever where everything you know is easy. Because I mean I'm sure I could get under 2 hours in one of those without
Yeah.
an issue. But I want to push the envelope, and I want to see what I can do to challenge myself even more. Um,
Yeah, don't
and
be too afraid. Like easier flag sets are not necessarily a bad thing to practice on if you're working on a specific skill. So for example, a free enterprise, like free floater, could be used to practice your routing, or short topher could be used just to practice your fiend fights. So don't be afraid to like change your flag sets depending on what you want to work on. If that makes sense, like don't just view like easier as straight up worse. Just make sure that the flag set is challenging the thing that you're working on. That's more
right,
important.
right,
Yeah.
right. And then Gregley Puff sent me some links to randomizer seeds that can help me with other things. Like there's one where no encounters,
Yep. Oh yeah.
except for trap tiles, so
Mhm.
that can help me with learning steps and things like that.
Mhm.
And one where the same one where so it can help me with trap tiles,
Yep.
learning where they are, things like that.
Mhm.
So um,
Yeah. No, that's
um,
all really good stuff that he's sending you.
yeah, yeah, and there was another one that he sent me. I just don't remember what it is, but
So
yeah, he sent me three.
so yeah, I guess
Yeah, no
it
encounters. Oh yeah, this one I didn't look at. He sent me the flag set for the last Duck Derby,
ah
which I haven't looked at that one yet. So.
but yeah, I think in general you're doing all the right things to learn and get better, and I think your times are going to be dropping
Hmm.
rapidly. Hopefully, I pointed out a few things that you were like unable to like fully criticize for yourself or like recognize in your gameplay about like what was blocking
Yeah,
you from going faster. So that's kind of the goal of this, and
right.
yeah, get some practice in, see how much of a difference it makes to skip those have plans along the way for magic shops, for armor shops, for Topher, for dungeons. Clear
Hmm.
your incentive locations first if you can, and go from there. And I think run a few seeds or whatever, and if you want another look once you've dropped down to like an hour 40 or something like that, I think then we'll be able to start fine
Yeah,
tuning some of the.
I'm hoping to be under 2 hours this weekend at some point.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm hoping that I can run tomorrow morning, and then I have a stream for Magic tomorrow, so I'll see if I can do another run after that. But
Yeah.
we'll see. I mean, I have a 7-year-old son, so best laid plans obviously don't always come to fruition when it comes to kids.
Yeah,
So
for sure. I mean, I have no doubt with your current level of knowledge and your play that you'll be under 2 hours. Like maybe not
mhm.
the next seed because things can always go wrong, but like you definitely have the tools I think to get under 2 hours. And
Yeah.
if you just say I am not gonna equip, also like if you're just gonna say I'm not gonna fiddle with my armor unless I pick up a ribbon or the first piece of gear or my end game gear, and I'm not gonna
Mhm.
fiddle with my weapons until I get a mid game sword and an end game sword. That by itself is probably cutting out like 5 minutes in this seed, which
Yeah.
is like a crazy
Mhm.
amount of time.
Right. And then, like you said, planning ahead so that when I go into the menu, I know what I'm doing
Yes.
when I'm in the menu. Like not just you know armor and equipment and whatnot, but also in battle as
Yeah.
well too.
Yeah.
So the hardest thing that I'm having trouble with is that the random spells,
Hmm.
so that they're not in the slots where I'm used to.
Yeah.
So I have to look for them.
Yeah.
Same with the key items.
Hmm.
When you have to use the rod or the loot or the floater,
Yeah.
it's not where I would think that it would be based on vanilla. Like, I
Hmm.
mean, I haven't played vanilla in like 10 years,
But still.
so but even still, it doesn't take much for those things to come back
Hmm.
when playing. So
Yeah, I think the spell slots, the key thing is just make sure that your best spells are in slot one that you're going to be casting most frequently. And
yeah.
just for the most part, once you get Nuke or Fade right, you're just going to be menuing to it 80% of the time, anyways. And that can be a good
Hmm.
kind of mental shortcut. Like the the better players at this game don't think strictly faster. They just think what matters more. Like they're more
Right.
able to focus their thoughts rather than think faster, if that makes sense. What they're
Yeah.
processing on is on a different level than what a newer player is processing on. Um, so I think
That
you
makes sense.
understand that, and you'll get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that, I kind of am getting ready to wrap things up. Is there any other questions that you had for me before? I hope this was helpful for you. I do this for quite a.
It is very, very helpful,
Okay.
and I'm sure that I'm going to be referring to this for a little while,
Awesome.
um, going back and whatnot. So yeah, I'm looking forward to breaking that 2 hour barrier, and then after that, then I wanted to break that 3 hour barrier, then the 2.5 hour barrier, now the 2 hour barrier. But then after that, it's going to have to be smaller increments of time, like 145 and then 130 or something along those lines, probably.
Yeah.
Because after that, it's going to be more finessing than anything else.
I think you'll be able to shoot down to an hour 45, and then probably get to hour 30. Hour
Mm-hmm.
30 can be a little bit tough, but then after that is when it's really a grind to get things on. That's not an unfun grind, but it's going to be much smaller adjustments, better routing, things like that that are going to make a
Right,
difference. Yeah.
right. And some of it is going to be instinct and luck too.
Yep.
You know, making a calculated risk to go to one place as opposed to another,
Hmm.
and then those risks paying off.
Yep.
Um, just like in this one, right after I went to the waterfall, and then
The
I
TNT.
turned in
Hmm.
the TNT and end up getting the loot.
Hmm.
So I didn't have to grind the sea shrine,
Hmm.
or nor did I have to grind the rest of um, Sky Tower. Which
Hmm.
I grabbed the ruby out of Mirage, so I guess I wouldn't have had to grind Sky anyway. But
Yeah.
still, I also because I would have to Sea Shrine would have led to the bottle, which would have
Hmm.
you know taken me
Another 45 seconds.
to the loot if that was the case, which
Hmm.
obviously it wasn't. But at this point, it would have led to the white shirt. But I didn't want to keep on, because that's adding another 10 minutes to the run at that point if I follow that trail. So
Yeah. Yes.
I like you had mentioned like earlier when once I got the floater that there's the 50-50 shot of the canal being
Martian ice.
in Martian ice, and that's something I wasn't recognizing either.
Mm.
So I should have obviously I should have skipped Marsh right then and there, and gone on to something different. And come back if I needed to go to marsh.
Yeah.
Uh,
I would prioritize waterfall or deals over Martian ice, but then the question to go
yeah.
to Martian ice over sea and sky becomes a little bit blurrier. But like the shop item or deals and waterfall are definitely clear priorities
Mhm.
over Martian ice at that point because those are much more likely to have your key items, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and
Seariness.
especially if I would have waited to go to Martian Ice
Hmm.
when I had warp.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I had warp when I went into ice,
Hmm.
but I goofed on and had to use warp twice in the one room
Yeah.
as opposed to anything else. But
Hmm. Yeah, that happens though. Uh,
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up what if you want to see more of these, they're all on the Final Fantasy Randomizer YouTube channel. I think I have like almost 10 of them at this point, maybe 7 or 8,
Um,
but
I've watched three of them so
oh,
far.
oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah,
well, if you already watched them, feel free. I think they're going to be of various levels of relevance to you, just because depending on
right,
whether the player was a little better than you or a little bit worse than you at the
right,
time, and also some of them are
and the
like
flag sets.
entrance
Yeah.
exactly. But
Mhm,
there's lots of other resources. New Player Black Pawn. I think you're already active there, so you're doing. I think you're doing everything right.
mhm.
Just keep on going, and I won't be surprised. And I look forward to. We'll see if you play in the next Duck Derby. Depends on
Yeah,
how much
like
faster
when
you get.
right. Well, it's like when I watched the one where it was the random entrances.
Hmm.
I watched that so that I could see how quickly I could recognize where I was,
Hmm.
where the player was
Hmm.
when he went into an entrance. It's like,
Yes.
okay, where am I? Obviously, some are better than others or are easier than others. And then when they switch up the color palette too,
Yeah.
it kind of tricks you a little bit. But that was the reason for watching that.
Hmm.
But I think any little bit can help me. And if I can take little bits of information from each VOD that I watch,
Yep.
then I think that it's going to end up helping me in the long run. So
Yeah, for sure. And also, it's good to talk to other runners in the community. Well, I wouldn't necessarily recommend every single person in the entire community's advice. Like, there's lots of good runners who
right.
play slightly differently than myself as well. And like, I,
Mhm.
I think what I try and teach to in like the Duck Derby program and my VOD reviews are fairly like fundamental concepts that I believe applies fairly universally. But I think every runner has a slightly different style, and you can learn a lot from watching a lot of
Yeah.
good runners. So awesome.
All right. Thank you. You have
Yeah,
a great night. I appreciate it, man.
yeah, no problem at all. And I hope you have a good one. And yeah, this will be on YouTube if you ever need to refer to
Okay.
anything else. So have a good one.
Take care.